Hi, and welcome back to Chapter 6 of A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Mass. And I have a small confession here. So, I recorded Chapter 6, and then I meant to edit it and post it, really soon after I posted Chapter 5, but I couldn't find the files of Chapter 6, so here I am recording it again. It's like the world doesn't want me to post, more frequently, honestly. I'm gonna try my best to read this flawlessly so I don't have much editing to do, and then you can listen to it. So yeah, we're just gonna go for it again. So yeah, enjoy Chapter 6. Throwing the salt must have worked, because no one asks me anything about my colors until English class. That's when the dam breaks. Before the teacher comes in, kids rush over to my desk and begin firing questions at me. "What color is my name?" Ross Stoller demands. He's never even spoken to me before. "How can you read with all those colors floating around?" asks Michelle, the girl with the dirty book. Then the questions come all at once. "Is it true that you can tell the time without looking at a clock? Is it true you can read people's minds? What does it feel like? Does it hurt?" I turn from one person to the next as the questions get more and more absurd. My face is burning, and I slide down in my chair. Luckily, the teacher comes in, and everyone sits down. I catch them glancing back at me when they think I'm not looking. I don't know what they expect to see. At lunch, I suddenly have the most popular table in the cafeteria. I tell people their names are yellow like a ripe banana, sky after it rains blue, burnt caramel brown, fire engine red. It's exhausting. Jenna and Kimberly try to protect me by shooing the crowd away. Sarah cowers in her seat and silently chews her peanut butter sandwich. Molly keeps bouncing up and down, clearly loving the attention. I have to admit it isn't all bad. Kids who totally ignored me before are clamoring to talk to me now. It would be more rewarding if it didn't have the overtones of a circus sideshow. "I wouldn't talk so much if I were you," a girl with long blonde hair announces as she passes our table. "They might stick you in the class for special kids." I watch her walk away, and my spirits sink with each step. She doesn't even know me. "Ignore her," Jenna says. "She's just jealous." After that, I don't feel like talking anymore and get a hall pass to go to the bathroom. I hide in a stall until lunch is over. Just to make the day complete, we have a pop quiz in math. I try hard to focus, but I can't. I wind up leaving the last 2 answers blank. Afterward, we're supposed to start on our homework while the teacher grades the quizzes, but my notebook fills up with doodles instead. The teacher hands the quizzes back, and I leave mine face down on the desk. I fantasize that I got an A, a nice happy sunflower yellow A. Slowly, I turn one corner over until a letter starts appearing. It's a big fat purple F and a note to meet with her as soon as possible. By the time I board the bus to go home, I'm totally wiped out and in a really bad mood. Someone whispers, "That's her, the girl who sees all the colors." So that's who I am now, the girl who sees colors. At least they don't know I'm also the girl whose grandfather's soul lives in her cat. They can't take that away from me. Jenna stayed after school to work on her newspaper editorial about sexism in gym class, so she's not here for me to hide behind. Zach keeps asking me about these rumors he heard about me, but I just stare out the window. He really won't shut up, and when we get home I stand on the front porch and tell him the whole story. He's actually quiet for a change. "How come me and Beth don't have this?" he asks. "Maybe you're adopted. You don't really look like any of us now that I think about it." "I'm not adopted," I say, too worn out to argue. "I don't know why I have it. That's why I'm going to all these doctors." "I think it's pretty neat," he says, following me inside. "You do?" "Sure," he says, grinning. "Now I know you're not the strangest one in the family after all. And you have some stiff competition." I open my mouth to disagree, but realize I can't. This is a very sad realization. My father walks in behind us, picking sawdust off his eyebrows. He asks to speak to me alone, but I tell him I already told Zach what's going on. He seems pleased by that. Dad likes it when we all get along. "Well then, the neurologist office called. Your appointment is next Friday. It would mean taking you out of school again." I think I can handle it. "Maybe I should come too," Zach suggests. "Me needs me there." "When pigs fly," my father says. "Think that would be any time soon?" Zach asks hopefully. "Nope," my father and I answer together. A strange thumping noise brings us to the living room. "That," Zach says, "is not the way the body is supposed to work." Beth is contorted on the floor, her legs above her head with her arms out to the sides. She slowly turns her head and looks at us. "It's yoga," she says cheerily. "You all should try it." "Why?" Dad asks. A hidden voice responds from the other side of the couch. "It clears any blocked energy." "Mom?" I ask, leaning over to get a better view. Sure enough, there she is, wearing old gardening clothes, bent in some position that looks hard to get out of. "The voodoo vixen's got another one," Zach whispers. "It's only a matter of time till the rest of us are sucked in." "Not me," Dad and I say at the same time. We smile at each other, and I realize how glad I am to be home. Rain pelts the car as we drive through the university gates on Friday morning. Zach said that if it rains on a really important day, then good things are ahead. At least something is ahead, and that's all I can ask. The campus is really nice, kind of medieval looking with a lot of gray stone buildings and trees everywhere. After a few wrong turns, Dad finds the right building and the nearest visitor parking. We wander up and down the long hallways until we find the right office. My mother knocks on the door, and a tall, sandy-haired man in a white lab coat opens it right away. He barely looks old enough to be a doctor. He reminds me of a movie star, but I can't think of which one. Right away, he tells us to call him Jerry instead of Dr. Weiss. His office is small and filled with books of all sorts. Fat books, skinny books, old books with pages sticking out, new books still stuffed in bags. I can't imagine that one man could read all these books in a whole lifetime. Wow, I can't help saying. Our town library doesn't even have this many books. "It's important to keep up with new discoveries in my field," Jerry explains. "What exactly is your field?" my father asks, examining the many diplomas lining the walls. "As a neurologist, my focus is perception. I study how the brain processes information from our senses and how it relays that information back to the rest of the body." He gestures excitedly for us to sit. "I've studied some unusual cases. As luck would have it, I'm one of the few researchers in the world who has experience with your condition." My mother doesn't waste any time. "Can you tell us what's wrong with her?" Jerry smiles gently. "There's nothing wrong with her." "Something is wrong," I insist. "All the shapes and colors with the sounds and the letters and the numbers and—" "Slow down," Jerry says, still smiling. "Mia, you don't have a disease. You don't even have a problem exactly. What you have, based on what your mother told me, is a condition that is harmless. It's called synesthesia." I stare at him for a minute, trying to absorb what he just said. Somewhere in my head, a chorus of voices sings hallelujah. There's a name for what I have. Not that I can pronounce it. What do I have again? He says it again, and I repeat it. It sounds like synesthesia, a cold-flecked word that doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. He explains the word synesthesia means senses coming together. Imagine that the wires in your brain are crossed. Not literally, of course. In your case, your visual and hearing senses are linked. The visual cortex in your brain is activated when your auditory cortex is stimulated. In my case, I ask, do a lot of people have this? I glance at my parents, who are clearly as surprised as I am. Jerry shakes his head. It's very uncommon. We now believe that everyone is born with it, but for most people, the extra neural connections are pruned away. For one person, a couple thousand, some of the connections stay. You see, the five senses can cross in many combinations. For instance, I tested one woman who tasted buttered popcorn every time she heard her husband's voice. And there's a well-documented case about a man who feels the sensation of objects being placed in his hands when he tastes certain foods. Seeing colored letters and numbers, lexical synesthesia, is the most common form, followed by colored hearing. Like yourself, 40% of synesthetes, that's the word for someone with synesthesia, have more than one type. "Will those other things happen to me too?" I ask wide-eyed. "No, you don't have to worry," Jerry assures me. "Your own synesthesia won't vary too much." "How can we make it go away?" my mother asks. "Mia can't very well walk around seeing colors everywhere. It's interfering with her schoolwork." "I understand your concern, Mrs. Winchell. Honestly, I do. But this is Mia's normal way of perceiving the world. She can learn to compensate for some things, but we can't cure her. I've never met anyone who wanted their synesthesia to go away." "I'm still in the room," I remind them. "Mia," Jerry says, turning to me, "there are some things many synesthetes have in common, besides a slight majority of them being female. Why don't you tell me how many of them sound familiar to you?" "Okay," I nod. "Are you left-handed?" "Yes." "Are you artistic? Musical?" "I paint. I don't play an instrument, but I listen to music a lot. I can always tell what note is being played by its color. If a piano isn't tuned right, I can tell because the colors will be off." "You're probably a very good speller, right?" I nod again. "How do you picture the calendar year?" "Just like everybody else," I assure him. You know, like you're sitting on top of a Ferris wheel at the amusement park. January's at the top of the wheel. If the wheel were a clock, January would be 12. Then as the days go by, the wheels turn to the left, and February is at 11. By the time summer comes around, I'm at the bottom of the wheel. But the wheel is sort of flying flat on the ground now. Then in August, it starts to rise again. I lean back, content that at least in this regard I am normal. It takes me a second to register the fact that no one is agreeing with my description. My mother's mouth is actually hanging open. Not everyone sees the year like this, I ask weakly. The three of them shake their heads. Jerry is smiling. He smiles a lot. Do you mean that everyone who has a synesthesia condition has all of these traits? My mother asks, clearly skeptical. Not everyone, of course, Jerry says. For instance, many people I've tested have problems with understanding math, but on the other hand, one of my former test subjects is now a college math professor. But it's uncanny how many characteristics they do share. Certainly fascinating, Dr. West, or Jerry, my father says. But how can we help Mia? Mia can train herself to make different mental connections by narrowing her focus and concentration. It will likely happen automatically as she gets older. Are you sure no one else in your family has this condition? It's often hereditary. My parents shake their heads. Will you work with her and see what you can do? My mother asks. Of course, Jerry says. He tells us he has a class to teach now, but invites me back the next day to do some tests. Are you going to hook me up to any wires? I ask. No wires, I promise. The rain has stopped, and Jerry walks us all the way out to the car. I'm about to get in when he tells me to wait. He digs around in his lab coat pockets and hands me a folded piece of paper. Here's the address of a synesthesia website where you can interact with people from all over the world. I stare at the paper. Are there people with synesthesia? Jerry nods. All kinds of people with all different types of synesthesia. There are discussion groups you can join and articles to read, although you may find some of them a bit dry. I'm so excited that I give him a hug. He waves goodbye as we pull out of the parking lot. I settle back in my seat, clutching the piece of paper Jerry gave me. I must find Billy now. I have to let his mother know he doesn't have a brain tumor. He's not crazy, and neither am I. And the chorus belts out another round of Hallelujah. Well, that was chapter 6. I'm glad it wasn't too long, so it didn't take me too long to redo, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. You finally know what she has, although I'm pretty sure I mentioned before that she has synesthesia, but oh well. Exciting for her. But yeah, the story is only just beginning, even though it's like halfway. But yeah, for the question of the day, would you ever want to experience having synesthesia, and why or why not? Also, if you do, what kinds? Because there's so many different types. Like, the list could go on, honestly. But yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting thing, and I would love to research about it more. But yeah, that's all for this chapter, and look forward to chapter 7. Bye-bye.